Hi guys, and thanks for joining me. Today I thought I would do another random record review. I haven't done one for a while, and I was reminded to do some more by Daniel Hawkes, who is one of the techs on the Siouxsie crew for the tour, and he has been actually anytime we go out, even back in 2008-9, he's been with the crew all the way through, and he was my drum tech for a while. And he's a really cool guy. We could talk about all sorts of things, Twin Peaks and music and, you know, all sorts of stuff. And he said that he really dug these kind of record reviews. So he sort of jarred me into doing some more. So thanks, Daniel. You're a winner. So yeah, here I am. So I've been over there, quickly sifted through, because I like to do it just very, very quickly. Picked up some records and I'm going to talk about them, hopefully not for too long, but let you know why they're important to me and why you should maybe check them out as well. So the first one that came up was this bad boy, which is Francis Albert Sinatra and Antonio Carlos Jobim. And this is a classic record. I mean, it's so late night, supper club type vibe. You know, when I first bought this on CD, before I found it on vinyl, which was actually, I think it was my dad's. I used to put it on really late at night when I got back from a gig or driving home from a gig in the car. It's just a good little vibe. And it's got all the classic sort of Jobim tunes you would expect, like Girl from Ipanema, Gingy. It's just fantastic. The orchestrations are wonderful, very atmospheric. Again, you can see it's slightly cheesy, you know, this kind of bossa nova Latin style, especially with someone like a crooner like, you know, Frank on top. But it really isn't. It's a bit niche, but it's very, 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 very cool. And the drumming on it is just wonderful. A nice combination of brushes in the right hand, a brush in the right hand and a rim click. So you don't get that sort of stick on hi-hat sound or stick on ride sound, which, you know, could get away in the way of the strings and just give a ting, you know, it's a bit too much. So having that brush in the right hand or his or her left hand, whoever the drummer was, that's just a wonderful thing. And I remember listening to the album, and of course, back in the day, I was using the hi-hat with the drumstick to play a bossa, rim click in my left hand, obviously. And then I heard this album, and I thought, that's incredible. And I think I've mentioned before, I also saw Dudley Moore's drummer doing it on Peppermill at 1 back in the day, with a stick in left hand on the rim and brush in the right. So amazing. So, you know, if you find that you're playing, you're, you know, jazz drummer or gigging sort of drummer out and about playing sort of hotels and restaurants and things like that, and you find it's a bit too loud, try going to the your right hand or left hand, whichever one you are, with a brush, because that makes it a lot lighter. And with your palm on the snare drum, it actually kills the ring of the snare as well, because obviously the palm's on the drum playing the rim click. So you get a nice sort of almost like an egg shake type vibe, and you can scrape from side to side. There's so many things you can do, but anyway, this is great. Frank sounds great on it, very relaxed. I mean, most of my friends know I'm a massive Sinatra fan. I've got a big box set up there of his Capitol years there. So yeah, this is well worth checking out for a drummer. If you're wondering how to get some more smooth sounding bossa novas, check out this album. And just for a sort of late night chill album, it's just absolutely fantastic. So 2 thumbs up for that one. So yeah, Francis Albert Sinatra and Antonio Carlos Jobim, or Jobim, I'm never sure how to say it. Okay, so Pink Floyd. I'm not the world's biggest Pink Floyd fan. It's just they're a band that occasionally I want to put on the turntable or in the car or whatever and listen to. But this album's my favourite. Most people seem to go to Dark Side of the Moon. Maybe it's that whole drug culture thing. Hey man, do you remember when we got stoned listening? You know, whatever. And it is a great record, but it doesn't speak to me as much as Wish You Were Here. I think everything on this album is absolutely stunning. It's just like, everything about it. I mean, most people know this album through and through. It's the guitar sounds, it's the drumming, it's the atmosphere. I love the atmosphere that Pink Floyd create on this record. I think that's what it is, you know, because I don't go to this record necessarily for, you know, chops or, you know, the guitar solos or whatever. It's more about putting it on and maybe with a glass of red wine or something and just sitting back and listening to the atmospherics of what the music can do. And I've always enjoyed that in music. And if you've seen a few of these, you'll know I'm into ambient music. and sometimes music that's just drones and sounds and electronic noises, which again isn't something you would put on at a party or necessarily on a long journey in a car with somebody that's not into it. But for me, there's a whole part of my musical brain that just enjoys that space, and there's another part which is more muso and wants all the complicated stuff. And I think Pink Floyd sit right in the middle for me, and the production's good as well. Though again, I'm not really going there listening with a sort of audiophile ears. It's just the mood and the vibe it creates. Nick Mason's drumming is always perfect for the track. He's like Charlie and Ringo. They just seem to do, and Jim Keltner and people, they just seem to do what's right. And you can tell that it's like all the great bands who've sort of grown up together and played a lot together. They've just got that sort of cohesive, Zen, all in one brain encompassing shape, that's incredible. So Wish You Were Here. If you don't know it, check it out. Stunning record, awesome. I'll probably put it on after I finish this. Star Trek. What a band. What a great duo. Star Trek. Well, it's obviously the original music. I say obviously, you don't know, do you? It's the original soundtrack from the TV show, and it actually says here just from The Cage and Where No Man Has Gone Before, which are kind of the very early episodes, first sort of episodes, and the music's by Alexander Courage. And there's just something that go for me with Star Trek. You can probably see I've got some sci-fi things and Beatlesque and Star Trek-y things behind me in retro. I'm a bit kind of a 60s and 70s child. Well, I'm a 70s child. I was born in 1970. But I mean, I just love the retro stuff, in my flat where I live. I've got retro things and I just really like it. It's like stepping back in time a little bit, and I want to collect more, actually. But Star Trek is a massive part of my life, as is Star Wars and Twilight Zone and X-Files and Twin Peaks. There's certain programs that just like I'll whack on DVD or Netflix or something in the background while I'm cooking or doing stuff. I just love it, no matter how many times I've seen it. And sometimes friends will come here rather and sit down and they'll put like a DVD but with the sound on or something. They're like, oh, you're watching Star Trek again or X-Files again? It's like, yeah, it's just like I don't know. It's just a part of my life. I just put it on, like I look at these pictures in my flat. It's just what I do. And Star Trek is a huge part of it. I love the camaraderie of everybody on the bridge, of the fact that it was multicultural, especially at that time in the 60s. That was really cool. I love the characters. I love how Captain Kirk is a certain kind of ladies' man, and it's a bit cheesy, I guess, at times. It always gets the girl, but it's how he deals with situations that I love, and also Spock, the same thing. He's such a cool character, and also Bones as well. The whole thing is great, and the music is stunning, and some of the effects on this album that he gets from living instruments, real breathing instruments rather than synths, because everything now could be done on synths and stuff, which is brilliant, and obviously Logic and Pro Tools has made things a lot easier for getting analog sounds without trying to go out and get on Reverb and buy a Moog or Moog for as cheap as you can, because all these things are expensive, like my Lindrum over there, which I'll also do a thing on at some point. And people around this time, and also the Disney films, we were talking on the tour bus about how wonderful the Disney films are when you've got like a spooky scene or the wind's blowing and you've got that choir going ooh, and the strings doing certain things, and it's just like that was done not on Pro Tools, that was done live. Human beings were singing that or playing that. And I think that's great. And that still goes on into the 60s because, electronic music was there were things around, obviously, but very basic. But anyway, some sounds on this are brilliant, probably worth sampling. But yes, Star Trek, wicked, love it. And it's quite a good little record. It's on vinyl. It's actually bought for me by a student and from Bath Spa University as a sort of thank you present. So Cam, thank you so much. You're a legend. And I've still got it. The Electric Sticks of Buddy Rich. Which is not the nicest looking cover, is it? Or the most gracious to him, I guess. But this is an interesting record. It's live at Birdland. I don't know how rare it is. I think it's pretty rare. Maybe a buddy file could let me know. But it looks like a bootleg, and maybe it is. And it actually doesn't say on the label or on the record anywhere what it is. So basically what this is, let's hope I get this right. This, as I remember, this was recorded at Birdland, and it's Buddy's quintet playing alongside Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, as I recall. So for the next 5 minutes when I talk about it, if it's wrong, please let me know in the comments below. But I think some of the tracks are Art Blakey's band and some of the tracks are Buddy's band. And they do like a drum battle. I think they do Night in Tunisia as like a little drum battle. And maybe sometimes both bands play together, maybe, or am I just making that up? But anyway, drum-wise, obviously the players on this are brilliant. I can't remember who's in Buddy's band at the time. It might be Mike Mineri, is it, who plays the vibes? It might have been that lineup. He did a lot of those quintet albums. I think there's one called Playtime, Caravan, maybe. There's a few of those Buddy things. And of course, Art Blakey's Messengers have always been grooving and doing their thing. So this is before he had the big band, or certainly the more successful 1966 big band. This has got to be 56, maybe 57, maybe early 60s. Again, there's nothing on it to tell me, but what I love about this is the Buddy and Art Blakey, I don't want to say drum battle, but yeah, drum battle. After the band have done the intros, they do some trading and stuff, and it's just the solos. I remember it being really quite feisty, and I've said before that when on the Max Roach versus Rich album, when they do their trading eights, figure eights, I think it's called, Buddy's quite successful at playing a bit more linear and trying to get into Max's head of how Max works. But sometimes when Max breaks out of what he does into like trying to play fast strokes, it sometimes sounds a little forced, you know. And I love Max Roach, he's amazing, and I've done record reviews on his stuff. Just a phenomenal player and so musical, and so it's not a better or best at all, but it's just I didn't like the way he tried to play it with the speed to try and match Buddy, because I think that's a big mistake. And Art Blakey doesn't. He just does his thing. And, you know, Art did have speed. He did have a lot of dexterity. And it really comes out, whether he was just on a roll, pardon the pun, that night or what, I really don't know. But, sorry, I'm looking at some blackbirds in my garden. They're fantastic. Yeah, it's just phenomenal hearing these two play. And you wouldn't have thought that would have been the best battle. You would have thought Gene and Buddy, or Buddy and Louis Belson would be the one, or even the Rich Roach. But no, this is the one. This is the classic, I think. But very hard to get, and I'm not sure if it's on YouTube. Maybe it is. I don't know. And there were some CD copies around under a different name. It wasn't called the Electric Sticks of Buddy Rich. It was, I can't think what it was, but it was around. There was like a Birdland collection, and maybe the Night in Tunisia was on it as a on this compilation. So well worth checking anyway. You know, if you're a Buddy and Art fan, or just like drums and drum battles, it's really cool. It's not the best, you know, and well recorded thing for audiophiles, I'm afraid. It's not. I remember it being a bit almost like there's a reel-to-reel in the club with a microphone and that's it. You know, it's not amazing. But anyway, Electric Sticks of Buddy Rich, bingo. Right, last one. Try and keep these as quick as possible. Wendy and Lisa. Yeah, wow. This came out in 87. Prince disbanded Prince and the Revolution in 86. And they went solo. And Bobby Z, the drummer, is on this, and he produced it as well, I believe. Yeah, well, produced by Wendy and Lisa and Bobby Z. Very 80s looking vibe. I had a massive crush on Wendy and Lisa when I was growing up as a teenager. When I heard Waterfalls, which was the first single off this, which did quite well, or Waterfall rather. Waterfalls is Paul McCartney, isn't it? Yeah, awesome, just brilliant. It's got that very shiny 80s kind of sound. It's funky, it's kind of raw in places, you know, and a bit like when Prince did Kiss without a bass and stuff, and it sounds very edgy and empty. I'm not saying it's that exactly that, but it was kind of add an edge to it. Some of these tracks sounds great. Some of them sound very plush. Some of them sound like they could have been on some of the Miles Davis output at the time, like Tutu or something like that. There's a sax player on one of them, and there's an instrumental, and it's really kind of that funk jazz 80s vibe. It's kind of cool. Again, not everyone's cup of tea maybe, but I love the production on it. I love the Lindrum. I love the combination of Lindrum plus live drums, and I love that Bobby Z produced it because he was the drummer in the Revolution, and he used both live and Lindrum. So, you know, that they already had the idea of how to make those records sound like that Minneapolis sound. But because Prince isn't involved in this, this has got Princey elements, but it's not completely going into that camp completely 100%. So yeah, it's an interesting album, I think. And there's sort of a mixture of ballads and funk, and not rocky stuff really. The rocky stuff came more in the next album, which was called Fruit at the Bottom or something, something like that. And that had a bit more of a mid or early 90s kind of funky rock element to it. Rock's like, you just think rack when you say it, but yeah, a bit more harsher guitars, a bit more riffy maybe. Anyway, this is a great record. I couldn't pick one track over the other. I think they're all great. The singles were Waterfall, Sideshow and Honeymoon Express, which actually were the first 3 tracks on the album, but they released them in the reverse order as they appear on the record. And a song about Prince on here, which was dedicated to him, which is actually called Song About. And there's a song called The Life, which actually was used in a movie. I can't remember what it was now. Gangster Paradise was the theme from it. I can't think what the film was or who was in it. Because again, I didn't do any research. I just grabbed the stuff and talk about it. That's the fun of it for me. Keep it quick, keep it moving. And you might go, oh, I had that record. Or, oh, what's that about? And you might want to get on Spotify and think, that's a great record. Thanks, Rob. Or you might go, ugh, don't like that. Either way, it's all good making your choices. So, Wendy and Lisa, nice one. Saw them live back in the day at the Town and Country Club, I think. They were brilliant. That was about 1990. So I was up there to see, Prince was doing like 18 nights or something at Wembley Arena. And they were there in the Town and Country or somewhere, or the Forum or somewhere. Anyway, so those were the records. I hope you enjoyed them. As ever, thanks for tuning in. Please, share the details of my channel. My subscribers are coming up. If you haven't subscribed yet, click that button, please, and subscribe away. And yeah, if you want to leave any feedback, do so in the comments below. You know what my email address is, because it'll be at the end of this video. And nothing more to say, but keep enjoying life, keep enjoying drumming. Have a great weekend. Have a great week wherever you're drumming. Keep drumming, and I shall see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.